Alright, here we go. It's that time once again for a fresh new solo adventure on an official PvP server. Let's see how this one goes. So I have done quite a few of these day one getting started videos, and if you're a long-time viewer, you know that for day one on a new server, I like to just focus on reaching level 60 as fast as possible. Usually I'll do that by farming some brimstone at Sinner's Refuge and Galaman's Tomb, and then I make my way up to the Temple of Frost and farm some black ice until I reach level 60. I've decided that for this first episode, to keep things interesting, I'm gonna explore a new power leveling route to level 60, and this one is not gonna be as fast as farming some black ice, but it's definitely gonna be much easier for new players to follow, since all that you're going to need to reach level 60 in about 2 to 3 hours time will be just a stone pick and some aloe potions. Now, before we begin our power leveling adventure, let's go ahead and pick up some sticks and stones and craft ourselves some basic starter tools and weapons. For food, we're just gonna go ahead and cook some gruel because it's cheap to make and it helps with both hunger and thirst. Now that we have some basic tools and weapons and some food, we're gonna make our way to our first destination, which is this little section here of puffball mushrooms. It's located right over here on the map. These puffball mushrooms give you a surprising amount of experience when you farm them, and they're pretty much all that we're going to need to reach level 60. Hi everyone, it's Zello here from the future, actually, interrupting this video to bring you guys some bad news and some good news. So the bad news. So I've actually already published this video on March 6, 2024, and I had to take it down to re-edit it with this interruption because the very next day after I uploaded this video, Funcom released the patch notes for the new Chapter 4 update of the Age of War, which is scheduled to be released on April 2nd, 2024. I'm actually on the Chapter 4 beta right now, and as you can see here with this new update coming up, we will sadly no longer be able to farm puffball mushrooms with a stone pick, or any pick for that matter, because apparently for the last 6 years that this game has been out, we weren't actually supposed to be able to farm certain resources with tools. So yeah, that is the bad news. This bug fix pretty much renders this entire video that I worked on for the last few days completely useless to anyone that is interested in using this power leveling method. Now, it's not all bad news. I do have some good news as well, and the good news is that I have figured out a solution to this problem so that you can still use this power leveling method. It's actually much more efficient and you'll be able to reach max level way faster than if you had just used a stone pick to begin with. So if you're interested in power leveling with this method, you're going to want to come here to Shaleback Hollow first before you go to that first mushroom patch. Once you've made it here, you're going to want to set up a bedroll right outside the cave, and I'll explain why later in the video. Now we're going to go inside the cave and we're going to simply run past all the creatures here. We don't need to fight any of them, it's not necessary. When you get to this point here in the cave where you learn sorcery, you're going to want to make it over to this other side. And here you're going to find a bunch of chests, but specifically we're looking for this one here. This one will give you a nice steel sickle, and with this sickle you'll be able to successfully farm some puffball mushrooms and actually gain way more experience than if we had just used a stone pick. I've already tested out this chest around 20 different times and I was able to get a steel sickle every time without an issue, so I guess it's gotta be a 100% respawn rate. Now, if by some bizarre reason you don't get a sickle from this corner chest, there are other chests you can loot which have a smaller chance of giving you a sickle or other tools, but you should be good with just the corner chest. So now that we have a tool that can actually farm mushrooms, just come back to this first location here that we started at in the actual playthrough and just follow along. You should have no issues farming them now. I'm hoping that it will stay like this by the time Chapter 4 is released, but if they do end up disabling it, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully you'll still be able to enjoy this first episode of our solo series. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this interruption. Let's finally get back to the actual playthrough, and just remember that in it I'll be using a stone pick, but just imagine that I'm using a sickle instead. Alright, I'm gonna take it back a few seconds before I interrupted this playthrough. Here we go. These puffball mushrooms give you a surprising amount of experience when you farm them, and they're pretty much all that we're going to need to reach level 60. Check out just how fast we gain experience from these, even from just using a simple stone pick. Like I said before, we are on an official PvP server, and the harvesting rate for these official servers is ×4. So that, combined with the high experience from these mushrooms, will allow us to just zoom past all these levels super quickly. There we go, that's pretty much all of them. We just gained 6 levels from this little patch of mushrooms, and as you can see, we are already at level 12 just from walking here, crafting a few items, and farming some mushrooms. We're gonna go ahead and immediately invest all of our attribute points into expertise, because we want to unlock this efficient harvest perk, which will enable us to gather twice as many resources from the final hit, thereby speeding up this entire process. So I've already gone ahead and mapped out an entire puffball mushroom route for us to follow today. Our next little plot of mushrooms will be located right over here, and we're gonna travel along Noob River here and stock up on some aloe leaves so that we always have a decent supply of heals throughout this entire adventure. If you're following along in this video, definitely grab a decent amount of aloe leaves. For early game, you can never have enough heals. I would also recommend that you only craft about 10 aloe potions at a time so that you don't accumulate too much weight, since aloe leaves weigh far less than the actual aloe potions. Alright, so now that we have some heals for the road, we're ready to officially get started with leveling. Our second plot of mushrooms is actually right over here. I made a mistake earlier and forgot to add it to the map, but now we have it. So let's see how many levels we get from this one. So that's going to be 4 levels total. We're going to move on to the next patch of mushrooms, which is located right over here. Oh, and I did forget to mention that just for the sake of science and entertainment, I'm going to torture myself and only use a simple stone pick for this entire leveling experience, just to show you guys how viable it is to reach max level by simply farming a bunch of mushrooms with just a stone pick. Oh, and by the way, feel free to loot around the camps that we passed through for better tools, or if you already have better tools like a sickle, which is the best tool to farm mushrooms, just use them. It's only gonna make this process go much faster. I'm only using the stone pick to show that you don't need any fancy tools to reach max level. Alright, we are at level 20 now, and we now have enough points to max out our expertise and unlock the Beast of Burden perk, which will allow us to move at full speed while being over encumbered. Alright, so we're going to move on to our next plot of mushrooms now, located right over here. Actually, I think we might have to skip this one. Looks like somebody built their base over the mushrooms here. False alarm, mushrooms are still here. And we also have the owner out here as well, just chilling. But we're gonna leave him alone. We're just gonna farm our mushrooms and be on our way. Only managed to get 2 levels from this one. Our next one is located right across from here, not too far away. That's gonna be it for that plot. Our next destination is right over here. So at this point we are level 23, and now we're going to start investing our points into agility so that eventually we can unlock the quick-footed and rolling thrust perk. Looks like we're not going to get as lucky with this one. This massive base is built over the mushroom patch here. This is bound to happen if you're on a multiplayer server, so we're just going to skip this one and move on to the next one. Yeah, don't worry too much if 1 or 2 locations are built over. There's plenty of mushroom locations to still be able to power level just as effectively. Alright, so now we're leaving the Noob River area and heading into the jungle for the next half of the mushroom locations. So far, we're making some really nice, super easy progress with our leveling. What I really like about this power leveling route as opposed to farming some black ice, which is what I normally do, is that you don't really have to worry about competing to farm these mushrooms like you would for the black ice at the Frost Temple. Since that's the most popular way of power leveling, a lot of the time you're just waiting around for the black ice to respawn because someone else might have been farming it already. But with this route, you're not really gonna have to worry about that. Another cool thing about this route that I really like is that you also don't have to worry about having to survive the extreme cold in the north. I get a lot of comments from new players telling me how difficult it is for them to stay alive due to the cold and having to dodge all the frost giants that are trying to kill you. With this route, there's almost zero danger in terms of weather or deadly monsters. Alrighty, here we are at the first location in the jungle, and we're just gonna do what we have been doing this entire time, just farming. Next couple locations are all really close to each other, so you won't have to go very far. We're done with this one, and now we're off to the next. If you're a new player, you'll want to be real careful with this rhino here. You can just set a bedroll down just in case, or if you end up getting killed along the way at any point, it doesn't really matter because you'll end up back at Noob River and you can just craft another simple stone pick, restart the route, and easily go back to farming mushrooms. As long as you're leveling, that's all that really matters. This route is much more forgiving than farming black ice because if you end up dead inside the Frost Temple and you have no heals or spicy food to get back in there to pick up your loot, that's a tough reset. We are almost done with this cluster of mushroom patches, just need this final location. Okay, we are officially done with this cluster down here. Now we're gonna take a little detour up north to get the mushroom patches up here. These give you a lot of levels, so definitely don't skip out on these. This entire peninsula here is covered in mushrooms, so make sure you walk the entire thing because we're about to stack some levels right now. Nice, there we go. That is level 30 for us. We are officially halfway to max level. Let's go ahead and continue to invest the rest of our attribute points into agility. Here we're gonna go with the precision strike perk so that we can get that additional 10% armor pen. We still got some more mushrooms to go here. Let's keep it going. I believe that's all the mushroom here in this peninsula. Next, we're gonna go up here, and this is another really good location for stacking levels. All the mushrooms here will be right next to this giant tree. So once you get done farming all the mushrooms around the tree, you're gonna want to farm these purple lotus flowers that you can find around this swamp. There's quite a few of them, so make sure you grab them all. It's super easy experience that's gonna add up eventually. Alright, so we managed to get about a level and a half of experience from just the purple lotus flower. Now we're gonna head over to the final location up here. There's a nice thick patch of mushrooms growing there. Alright, here we have it. This next location is gonna be on top of this cliff, just in case you struggle finding it. So that's going to be it for this area up here. Now we're going to make our way back down south and continue a route from where we left off. We are now level 35, and that means that we can finally unlock the quick-footed perk, and this is an absolutely necessary perk because now walking, running, and jumping will cost less stamina, and most importantly, our movement speed has been increased, which on a PvP server is extremely important because you never want to be slower than your enemies, whether it's because you're running away or running after them. So here we are at our next destination. We're just continuing our route as if we never took that detour up north. Now we're off to our next one right over here. These next couple ones aren't the most dense mushroom patches, but they do add up in the end, so don't skip out on any of these, especially because they're all on the way to the final location, which will yield the most levels out of all the locations. This next patch here is surrounded by a bunch of gorillas, which do give some nice experience if you manage to kill them. Personally, I don't think it's worth the time since it takes a good minute to bleed them out with stone daggers, but if you already have a decent weapon and you want the extra experience, feel free to kill them, it's all up to you. So we have these 3 more mushroom patches to visit. We're just gonna go ahead and power through them as fast as possible. Alrighty, so that is all 3 of the remaining mushroom patches. Now to conclude our power leveling route, we are going to head over to the Black Garden located right over here. And we're just gonna farm some Black Lotus flower, which should stack a few more levels. So it's been quite the peaceful farm run for us. We haven't had to deal with any players trying to gank us as we're leveling up, and that's another one of the major benefits of doing this leveling route. It's not only great for new players because of how simple and easy it is, but it's also great for solo players or just anyone that's initially trying to stay under the radar as you get yourself up and running on a new server. Here we are, we have made it to our final destination, the Black Garden, and like I said, we're just going to be farming the Black Lotus flower here, which give an insanely good amount of experience. This garden is poisonous, so once you feel your health has dropped enough, just get out and heal up and then keep going. So that is pretty much it for this leveling route. From one super easy, peaceful farm run, we have made it up to level 40. We started at the center of Noob River and simply followed it east to the jungle, concluding our route here at the Black Garden. I'm not sure how long it's been since we started, maybe about an hour or so. Not the fastest because I do gotta explain things and it does take some time, but I'm sure you guys can do it much faster, especially if you can get yourself a decent sickle. That's gonna speed this up way more. Anyway, before we tackle the remaining 20 levels, let's go ahead and finally max out our agility and unlock the rolling thrust perk, which gives us that free stamina attack after every roll. Absolutely necessary perk in the Age of War since they increase the stamina cost of every attack. Now at this point you might be wondering what we're gonna do for the last 20 levels, and we're just gonna simply pour Bracelet and get back to Noob River and do it all over again. Hey guys, it's me again from the future. Just wanted to remind you that if you have been using the sickle, you're going to want to respawn back at your bedroll at Shaleback Hollow instead of the desert. And then just go back inside and grab another sickle. A new one should have respawned by now. And then just go back to that first mushroom location that we started this playthrough with. And yeah, that's it. Let's get back to it. We're gonna do exactly as we did the first time around. We're gonna pick up some sticks and stones and craft ourselves a stone pick. Then we'll come back to this starting location here and we'll speedrun our way through all the mushroom patches once again. They should have all respawned by now. Alrighty, so at this point we have caught a few more levels, so we're just going to take a moment to invest our attribute points into vitality, and we're just going to continue to max it out with the remaining points. We're almost at level 50, let's keep it going. Alrighty, so we've gotten through all the mushroom locations now. Our last stop is going to be the Black Garden once again. Might as well do it now. Let's go ahead and unlock the fast healer perk so that we can get that 50% increased healing from healing effects. Here we are at our final destination. There it is, we have completed our second trip around and we only have 8 levels remaining until max level. We're almost at the finish line, just gotta run it one more time. Just 8 more levels, we can do it, let's go. There we go, that is the end of our third trip, and of course, as fate would have it, we are 2 levels short of max level. It looks like we're gonna need to do maybe half of a 4th trip, and that should be more than enough. Here we go, final 2 levels. Let's make this super quick. There it is, everybody. Level 60 at last. We have completed yet another journey to max level. This one, I would say, was not the most fun leveling route, but it's definitely the most peaceful and effortless since we didn't really deal with anything too deadly and there wasn't any need for any fancy items. Simple stone pig got the job done just fine. It only took 4 easy trips, and just like that, we're at level 60 and ready for day number 2. Oh, and real quick, if you enjoyed today's adventure and you're interested in seeing how I gear myself up to take on the server, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all on day 2.